In this video, I want to share my personal journey with meditation, what I experienced the first time I tried it, and how it's positively changed my life forever. Hey, for those that don't know me, I'm Brett Stewart, founder of Technical Intuition, an online e-learning and coaching platform focused on optimizing internal performance while harnessing your intuition to permanently conquer self-sabotage, stress, and negative thinking. Now, probably one of the most difficult lessons that I've learned over the past decade while researching human perception in the depths of the unconscious mind is that what we attract in our lives is precisely what we need to learn from if we wish to grow. Crisis often provides fresh opportunities to increase our fortitude, our understanding, and our abilities. And as the famous American author Napoleon Hill once wrote, every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. How I discovered and ultimately adopted meditation as a regular daily practice began this way, and it wouldn't surprise me if many new adopters share a similar story. I began meditating over 10 years ago, around the age of 22, and this was a time when I was experiencing a crazy amount of stress and anxiety stemming from an extended period in my life, about 80-hour work weeks. And this was coupled with a personal belief that failure to execute on my commitments would spell the end of my life basically as a whole. You see, I had recently dropped out of my political science program at a prestigious university, giving up my speech and debate scholarships, and I made a 180-degree turn to focus on an art degree. And well, I suppose it's somewhat ironic that I ended up changing to another field, which I'm in now a few years later, to focus on self-development. But at that time, the shift was creating massive turmoil in my life. To make ends meet, I got a job working full-time for a web startup in San Diego during the day to come home and spend 6 to 8 hours on my class assignments at night. And after 6 straight months of this hectic schedule, pulling multiple all-nighters with no sign of letting up, it began to feel like I was dragging myself across pavement, and my ability to focus, be productive with my time, or even be positive about my life quickly began to erode. And I experienced long bouts of insomnia as a result of this and flirted with depression and negative thinking. Now, meditation came into the picture when one evening I sat down at my computer to work on an assignment. And I was completely exhausted, unable to focus. It felt like my ends were fraying at that point. And I remember putting my head down into my hands, closing my eyes, and just speaking to myself. And I said, I don't know what to do. What do I do? And completely to my surprise, I heard an inner voice speak back to me. And it said, meditate. And with it, a memory flooded into my mind about a time that I was discussing the topic with my grandma, who was a 60s hippie at heart, a woman who easily always looked 20 years younger than her age. And she was describing to me a simple breath technique that she used every day. But she said something that I'll never forget. She said, Brett, I know when you're ready for it and need it most, you'll discover it yourself. Of course, I laughed that off at the time, but it's like she planted a seed that if the proper circumstances arose, it would spring forward and yield fruit. So I shifted my full attention towards my in-breath and my out-breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And having never done this before, my mind immediately wandered to other subjects, negative thinking. I had thoughts like, this is stupid, what are you doing, you're wasting your time, and a whole bunch of other nonsense. However, after each distraction, I simply refocused on my breath. Meditation is truly a practice of yielding and returning. And then something interesting happened. Being a visually dominant person, as opposed to auditory or kinesthetic, my mind actually began creating colors behind my eyelids for the in-breath and the out-breath. While breathing in, I could see a white, slightly blue color flood my perception as the cool air hit the receptors in my nose. And as I exhaled, I saw a deep red rose color take shape as the warm air left my body. And this took me completely by surprise since I hadn't anticipated this at all. But something even more strange then occurred. Not long after the colors appeared, my entire body began to respond, and my skin was covered in what felt like goosebumps from the tip of my toes all the way to the top of my head. And it felt like I was passing through an electrical field that was just wafting over my body, like I had just sat down in a bubbling jacuzzi. The physical sensation was so startling that I ended up opening my eyes and then just observing all the tension in my body dissolve into thin air. And the actual feeling lasted for about an additional 2 to 3 minutes. Now, what's funny is that even when writing the outline for this video, I was focusing on that exact memory, and my body actually began to reproduce that same buzzing effect. The sensation is actually one that I've become rather familiar with since that first encounter, and it's something that I actually often tap into during my meditation practices to release internal stressors. But in hindsight, I learned something else that was actually pretty important that day. I discovered that there was a part of myself that had been waiting patiently for me under the surface. And after having discovered it, it's like it welcomed me with a warm embrace. And since that time, I've gotten to know that aspect of myself rather well. It's helped me completely conquer insomnia, and also just in that instance, shortly afterwards, I was able to significantly reduce my stress levels and finish art school. After meditating for a few weeks, I discovered that it was actually my pride that had kept me locked in this 80-hour work week because I was actually refusing to ask for help. After all, I had been the one to make the decision to change course. And so in a way, I was punishing myself by attempting to brute force my way through to the end and basically continually smash my head against a wall in the process. But by allowing my feelings and thoughts to arise during the meditation process, I was actually able to become aware of these emotions and these feelings for the first time, and then consciously decide to relinquish them, at which point a new path opened up and I was able to ask for help. And that was over 10 years ago now. And the journey up to this point has taken me from remote meditation monasteries to the classroom to the boardroom in an attempt to understand perception, consciousness, and the unseen factors at the heart of our unconscious minds. Learning to meditate and apply mindfulness techniques radically changed my ability to perform at an optimal level, access positive thinking, and also achieve the goals that I set out for myself in life. It also provided me with an opportunity to unpack and slowly confront my personal fears, negative thinking, and inner turmoil at a pace that I was able to handle. You see, while the physical relief of meditation is great, I found that the real application of the technology is to address and dissolve that which weighs you down and keeps you small. And while mindfulness techniques are more regularly being employed in professional environments today to simply relieve symptoms of stress, they often miss addressing the underlying causes of these upsets in the first place. I've attended numerous conferences on transformative technology and mindfulness in the workplace, and the primary goal of many in this space is simply to create better worker bees. But in my opinion, that's really a wasted opportunity. And it's kind of unfortunate because many meditation practices today have become just another way to temporarily relieve your upsets while avoiding confrontation with their root cause. Applying it in this way is kind of like buying a car just for the air conditioner without ever driving it anywhere. Additionally, there are some schools of thought that believe that using mindfulness in this manner is actually potentially harmful in the long term, because once you progress far enough with inner ease techniques, if you haven't learned to sit with small degrees of emotional discomfort during the process, you'll eventually uncork all the heavy stuff but have no experience or ability to cope with it. I suppose if business professionals doing this that are enjoying the benefits of mindfulness begin showing signs of existential crisis within the next few years, we'll know if these predictions are accurate. But since practicing that very first breath meditation over a decade ago, I discovered a hunger to actually seek out optimized methods to effectively access this part of myself, which range from attention management techniques, guided visualization exercises, and even learning to create a real-time dialogue with different aspects of my mental, emotional, and physical self. Now, in a future video, I'll be sharing a powerful meditation technique that I practice to this day, which not only relaxes the body and the mind, but also increases your ability to be present with others, providing you with a unique opportunity to begin dismantling negatively oriented internal processes that cause stress and turmoil in the first place. But you don't have to wait to be an expert to apply mindfulness in your life today, since there's a plethora of information freely available online. And you can always begin with that first breath meditation. And so with that, I hope you enjoyed hearing about my journey with meditation, and I have several other stories to share on the subject, so let me know if this is something you'd be interested in hearing more about. And if you like this video though, definitely leave it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.